Just to get the insight, would like to thank Rob for coming for this evening. I've kind of explained some of the plan for the future, which I would like to do, which is kind of grow some more of the London networks. We did an event last year with a different kind of theme and location. So we're going to just do more of these events. We're going to try and get them out to people and hopefully build a better network within London. But also, so we can link it back to our students, whether they're in London or in York, it doesn't matter, because actually it's the students that really want to learn from our alumni. Ozzy has signed his life away this evening for that reason. But I just wanted to say thank you very much for coming, and just enjoy tonight. We can have a drink afterwards and enjoy the food. Rob probably doesn't need too much of an introduction, but I will give him. So this is Rob Edgar, now Professor Rob Edgar in Creative Writing and Popular Culture. Woo! Woo! So yeah, and he uses that title a lot. So, you know, it's fun. Rob was at York St Donald, has been at York for 27 years and continues to be there developing and supporting our students. Not only through the creative writing area that he does now, but he also works within film, TV, media, across the board. And he has been quite influential with a lot of our alumni at York St John. Whether he likes me to say that or not, he does that, he actually hates it. Because Rob has produced many a brilliant student, and also he now has, I can't even count how many books, chapters you've written in. He works with such a lot of the industry as well. But he will always say, oh, I'm not very busy. No, it's all right. So I'm going to hand over to Rob, who knows everybody on the panel, and that's from, I would say, I'm going to get this wrong now, 2009, right up to 2009? 2005, I knew I'd get that wrong.
I'm a lot older.
No, but you look so young. 2005, Rob, so 2019, I've got that right? Yes. So yes, I just want to hear the experiences, and Rob's got some great questions for you. So I will hand over to Rob. Thank you, everybody.
Who we collectively have taught in and around the room, as well as on the panel. It's absolutely fantastic, and it's always brilliant to keep in touch with people and find out how well people are doing, and it never fails to be kind of humbling about the kinds of things people go on and do, and the kind of really amazing careers that people do, our panellists but also other people around. It's fantastic wherever you go. And part of this, kind of the reason why we're here tonight, was actually a conversation with Tia, who really graciously kept in touch about all the fantastic work you're doing. I'll ask you more about that in a moment. And mentioned that you'd been into a couple of production companies, and everyone you'd gone into, there was someone there who'd done film and TV or creative writing or literature at York St John. So our graduates are everywhere in a very good way. Doing all sorts of exciting things. So I've got a few questions, but it's really kind of a bit of a conversation. But just to open up, I'm just kind of going to go round in order that we happen to be sat here, and just ask Ozzy, Tia and Alistair just to say a few words about sort of their career, what they've been doing since, a summary of what they've been doing since graduation. Not a small question.
So I graduated in 2011 from film and television course, and from there I landed in Emmerdale, and I was a runner, and then I got to be a third assistant director at Emmerdale in Leeds. And then decided to sack that in because I met someone at a house party, and then she was like, I can get you a job in London at this production company in London. And I was like, London, yeah, let's go there. So then I did that, and I slashed my pay, went there, started making people tea and all that, it's very luxurious. And then did that for a bit in a production company, was then making my own work, doing music videos, got signed as a director at the production company, and then went from there to make fashion videos and TV commercials, and that's pretty much where I'm at now, is just making commercials.
Can I just say, I love how you just jump from I'm just making some stuff that I got signed.
Yeah.
I've missed about
No, honestly, it was the sense of, I was in this production company, making people tea, telling everyone I want to be a director, and when you're in that case and you're making people tea, everyone's literally going like, yeah mate, alright, wicked, yeah. a bit of milk, a bit more milk. Do you know, it is all like that. But then I started making things, and all I did was just showing it constantly to loads of people, assistant directors, and then eventually a band was like, oh, we have a bit more money to do this thing, and I didn't know how to produce it. I asked that production company to do it that I was working for, and then that video ended up doing quite well, and then they took me on as a rostered director, and then from there it was like a weird kind of jump, and then those producers who were very particular about the tea were then acting really strange to me. But it was this weird jump. It was a long time period, but weirdly it was that kind of trajectory, strangely.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you.
Oh God. After graduating, I was happily blessed with COVID straight into that. So I was actually working as a news intern for my public broadcaster. So I'm from the Isle of Man, and the Manx Radio is the equivalent of the BBC. So I was basically reporting on the front line during COVID, doing loads of vox pops about toilet roll and other stuff. And then obviously I got to produce my own podcast about becoming a literary writer on the island, which was wonderful because I love writing. And then from then on I went to another internship in HR. I did a lot of marketing and copywriting. I just kept hopping from job to job because there wasn't the creativity on the island, and also we were like in lockdown. So we were basically stranded on this hump of rock in the middle of the Irish Sea. And I ended up working in finance, which was like my worst nightmare. I cried a lot. And we looked after actually DeLonghi, who does all the coffee machines. So he was quite a big client of ours, which was really random, having to do up this yacht that the wife was not happy with. Anyway, it's a long story. But I learned a lot despite that, which I didn't realise at the time would help me further down the line. So my get out of jail card for that was working in PR, working as a copywriter for like this website that was never launched. So sadly, I got let go from that job, and I ended up working in a cafe, like figuring out what to do. And it was actually there I met someone whose dad worked for the production company that filmed this motorcycle race in the island called the TT, which ITV4 stream. It's very big worldwide. I mean, Channing Tatum rocked up there like 2 years ago because I think they're planning to do a movie in Hollywood. So yeah, really big thing. And I got a production running credit on that, met the team, met the crew, loved it. And then since then I guess I went on to another job, and at the same time I was like desperately applying to jobs in the UK and like over here, and anything like less than 6 months I wasn't going to take because it's not worth the jump. And I ended up working for Moonage Pictures as a runner. So the guys who've done The Gentleman with Guy Ritchie, they've done Good. They've had about like 5 shows that have come out in the last 2 years. I mean, they did Bodies with Stephen Graham, Leopard, which has just come out on Netflix recently this month. So they're quite prolific, and my old exec, Matthew Reid, was an ex-BBC commissioner, and he commissioned Happy Valley, season 1. And obviously, they'd also done Peaky Blinders, so I was really blessed to, I suppose, work and get tea and lunches for like this kind of amazing set of kind of artists and talent. And originally it was a 9-month contract, and I had to move in about 2 weeks, and I just started a job at a library, and I had to basically hand in my notice, and they were like, we've overpaid you, so I had to pay an invoice back and then move.
Should have ignored that email.
And then that 9-month contract turned into like a 12-month contract, which was great. Obviously it hit during the writer strikes, so we had about 7 shows going, so it was so busy, learned a lot. And then from there I obviously it was capped at a year, and they let me go, and it was so unfortunate because the runner before me typically had been taken on in-house as a trainee on The Gentleman as a script editor, and then in-house as a development assistant, and that's what I wanted, and I couldn't do it. So I ended up I suppose wrestling around trying to get a job, was applying to loads and loads of things, and managed to get a job in retail. I was getting to the final 2 stages of everything, but they kept dropping at the final hurdle. And then I landed a gig at BBC, and it's really random because I had done some running for Channel 4's screenwriting course back in summer of 2023, and it was through that I'd met a girl or people who were part of this big WhatsApp group called Palm Springs, where everyone in scripted development and drama work is It's like massive. It's where all the jobs were kind of posted. And it was actually through that I went to a meetup randomly, and I met 2 girls there who I would not know at that time would end up working with like about a year or 2 later at BBC. And it's so random how it all works. I never used to believe it, but yeah. And then I was at BBC Studios Drama for a year, got to help out with some amazing courses, and then yeah, now currently in between jobs, but I might have, I don't know, hopefully the job soon, but again, it's all in the air, but fingers crossed. And yeah, that's me. I'm a writer as well, so.
That's right.
That's the other thing to underline. Tia is a remarkable scriptwriter as well as all those things that you've been doing in the business. Thank you very much. Alistair.
Yeah, hi, my name's Alistair, and that sounded a little bit Alcoholics Anonymous when I didn't hear it until it came out. That's fine. I've been a York St John graduate for many years, longer than everybody else. But actually, Tia was talking about serendipity and sort of unwittingly learning how to do things that you're going to need later in your career in a way that wasn't obvious at the time. And I've had quite a lot of that because I have meandered like hell since graduating in 2005. I was too arrogant, I think, to do the correct thing, which is make tea for people and then get away into the industry. I was sure that I was going to break in without doing that, and I didn't do it, and I didn't break it. So I got halfway to my goal. After I graduated from York St John, I worked at York St John for a while, and I made corporate videos through York St John, and I tried to make my own short films, and I did that for a few years without any particular success. Then I came to London to go to the London Film School and to do the MA in filmmaking that they do at the London Film School, and I graduated from there again without any noticeable success. Well, that's not fair. My graduate film was shortlisted for a Student Academy Award, which is, I have to emphasise, not the same thing as an Academy Award, although it is connected to the same organisation. It's way easier to get nominated for it. But it means the film probably wasn't terrible, but it probably wasn't that good. And anyway, they hated my film, so it was a very humiliating experience for me, showing a film in front of an audience of people and then having them say how terrible they thought it was. But that week I had done my first stand-up gig, and I just gone to an open mic in London, and it had gone quite well. And because of those two things happening in the same week, just at the same time, it was very important to me that the stand-up had gone well, because I was so devastated. You make a short film, you can make a 5-minute long film could take a year to make. It's a year to get 5 minutes. But with stand-up comedy, any of us now could go to an open mic tonight in London and do 5 minutes with no preparation. And if people laugh, you've done it. That's it. All you have to do is make people laugh. So I started doing stand-up in the same. While I was working on that, I also wrote for video games, which helped me learn some of the things that I'd done wrong with short films. And I used to say that I started doing stand-up because it's a cheaper medium to be unsuccessful in than film. But really, I haven't achieved anything of note in any field. But stand-up was going fine, because if people laugh, you're doing it. Whereas when I was making films, people were like, "What is this? Is it a film?" The turning point was a little-known respiratory virus called COVID-19. Lockdown happened, and all the comedians couldn't work, and I knew how to use cameras. So I was like 6 months ahead of everybody else in how to make videos to go online. And so I had a few videos go viral during lockdown, and it's pathetic to say it, but it did change my career. So I got to go on TV and do stand-up on TV, a very small amount. I got to tour the UK in quite small venues, and I've written a series of kids' books because it's just the law that every comedian has to write a kids' book. You have to do it. You're not allowed to not. And it's been quite good. So really, COVID worked out brilliantly for me. That's a horrible note to end on.
I'm glad it worked out well for someone.
worked out.
In fact, for two of you thinking about
Yes.
it.
I did actually.
It was weird. I do want to emphasise, obviously, I'm not really any better at any of the stuff that I was doing, but it is going better now. But it could be going a lot better.
I think one of the things that it is really inspiring is the kind of the discussion you've had, the description you've got of your careers. There's a kind of level of kind of tenacity about the things that you really want to do, which is really inspiring. But also that thing, you talking, the question came through about, kind of, and I think it's very easy to be glib about it. Oh, I was signed, or I did this, or I got this. It's by virtue of your skills, and you've got things you've written, things you've produced, ideas you've got. You can present that. You're already kind of prepped to grasp those opportunities, which is remarkable. And I'll say it again, and I might say it before the end. Inspiring. Just. Again, just a way into a bit more of a discussion. Again, anybody wants to speak, don't have to be too formal about it. But what was it that made you want to get into the creative industries? And I suppose in a way, thinking about York St John, that's why we're here. What was it about York St John that kind of helped you propel you into that?
Well, for me, I grew up as a skateboarder and making skateboard films and things like that. So I was already shooting my own things, and being I want to earn money from shooting films, videos, or whatever it kind of was. And but I kind of wanted to stay in the north. I'm from a town called Pontefract in West Yorkshire, and then when I found York St John, it felt like a really nice home to be at, where they could influence that, and I could learn about just what about lighting and what different people do, and because I was a one-man band, which you end up being anyway straight after, which is a really good skill because you end up learning every single aspect of it. It was that really. It was just wanting to make things, and I felt like when I went to York St John, it just kind of encouraged it even more, and just showed different avenues of what I could learn from it, like the editing process, the lighting process, working as a team. I'd always been on my own, collaborative with people, pushing egos aside. Because there's a lot of egos constantly. But yeah, it was that basically. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, sure. I guess my creative doors didn't open until actually A level, where I did a creative writing A level. They don't run it anymore, but A3 used to do it, and there was about 3 people in my course who actually had done the creative writing A level, which was fascinating. Because without that, I probably wouldn't have gone to York St John, because at the time I was considering marketing and doing business, and on reflection I'm so glad I didn't do that. But I guess my answer would be probably you. But yeah, you saw something in my writing. It was when I did a genres module, and I'd written the first opening to Bellflower, which was previously known as the Bellflower Witch. And you were you've got a flair for this, you should continue doing that. And I never had any of that before, so it gave me a confidence in myself and my writing to try that, because I didn't even do script as a dissertation. I literally just did it for different modules, and it's quite remarkable how I've switched into that now, and I've learned so much just in terms of story, because I still write fiction, but without that I probably wouldn't have entered the world of TV. And obviously coming from the Isle of Man is nothing. It's a desert, literally. So yeah.
Cool. Take the credit.
I will. I'm amending my CV when I go home. That's going straight on.
More credit coming your way. No, I'll try and mix it in with Giants. It's a similar thing. I don't think I didn't really realise that I enjoyed education until I got to university, because I was fairly academic and quite clever, but I hated school for the entirety of it. But I didn't realise that that's because you can't decide what you write about when you're at school. And as soon as I got to York St John, the fact that you're allowed to sort of choose the topics of your own essays, I immediately really liked it. And I wrote my dissertation with your help, Rob, about folk tales, which I was obsessed with and still am. I still do. I do a weekly podcast about folklore now. These are things that I was interested in then and I'm interested in now. everything I've done, in film and comedy, I like mashing things together. I like combining animation with live action. I use animation in stand-up comedy and online stuff that I do. Having access to legitimately acquired software that I otherwise have gained access to, it made a huge difference. It helped a huge amount.
Well, that's very good. Just one thing that I think you've all said in different ways, very similar ways. And it's something that I know has been sort of part of the ethos of what we've done. I'm interested in your kind of response to it. Is this idea of not having, whether it's in creative writing or literature or film and TV or theatre, film and TV, all these various degrees that we've all done or had different titles, is not having a kind of particular approach or a particular house style or a particular thing we want you to produce, but the fact we want you to make something. Is that been significant, or was that significant for you, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because you come in as like a blank canvas and going, you just want to make stuff, but then it's kind of like navigating at uni what you want to do and how you want to do it, and finding the right people who want to do certain things and just moulding it like that. I don't know. I kind of like, I remember one summer really being frustrated with Avid, because we'd cut on Avid a lot, and I'd cut on Final Cut loads, and but it was a cracked copy, obviously. And then I remember going to Avid and being like, God, I've got to learn a new thing. And then I remember being like, you know what, I'm just going to stay here this summer and just go to the edit suites on my own and learn how to do this. And like, pushing myself to like just learn how to cut and properly cut and things like that. And then going, I don't want to be an editor, I want to be a director. But yeah, that was basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I got the opportunity when I wrote my dissertation, it was still like anything I'd seen, to like just write what you want. But it was such an incredible opportunity to wield that creative pen. And I think that other degrees, like certainly, I suppose friends I've got who've done like English or classics at uni, they haven't had the same, I suppose, insight. Like having now gone into TV and learning about story and structure, and you get people saying like, "There's no one who can story like this," and I'm just like, well, like that's what I got taught at uni, and it's all kind of, I suppose, helped in its own worldly way. Even just writing your own like first-page story with your dissertation has helped you in so many ways. So
yeah, and you can kind of see that, just to pick up on that point you made about Bellflower, which I'm still calling Bellflower Witch, because I remember when you wrote the first draft, how that's still part of your what you're working on and developing. It's fantastic.
It's quite similar things. I suppose that I approached the course as like, I guess these days you call it a sandbox. Like, this is a space in which I can do things I'm interested in. So I was trying to write a children's book then, and I was trying to write children's television back then, and I got feedback from the tutors, and they didn't go anywhere. But it's you're trying to strengthen muscles that maybe you're going to use later. And the first thing I did when I graduated was I got a job working for the course, helping the students learn to use Avid, because Avid, we'd only just got Avid then. You kids don't know. We used to cut on After Effects on Adobe Premiere, which was terrible, by the way. Adobe. Now it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's alright.
No, Final Cut fucked it. Yeah.
They did. After 7, it's done.
What is an X?
True. Yeah, true.
Anyway. But so Avid was new, and so my job was showing the students, the incoming students, how to use it, and I had never used it before. But it was a week. We had a week before term started, and so over the course of that term, I learned how to use Avid a week ahead of the students, and then told the students what I had learned the week before, creating the illusion of knowledge. And I've continued that throughout my life. It might have been, yeah. But it works. But also that like you said, it's not. I think everyone is self-taught, isn't it? It takes something away from the course to say, "Oh, I taught myself Avid," or "I taught myself." But the course is the space in which you're able to teach yourself.
Yeah. Well, you have the menu. You're giving us the menu of going like, here's the camera equipment, here's the lighting, here's the edit suites. We'll show it to use it. It's up to you to then go and learn how to use it in your own time. Like, yeah, you have the course and the seminars to do all these things, but you've got to take it upon yourself to actually do it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, I always think one of my biggest, not regret, but the biggest thing I take from Yorkshire John is like, I wish I'd have made more things, because all the equipment's there, the edit suites are there, the people are there. As soon as you leave that, it becomes a lot more harder to make your own stuff, like hugely, I think. I found that when I came here, I was like, God, I wish I'd just taken the equipment every weekend and just made something, even if it's shite, you know.
Yeah, but it is one of those things that it's the kind of thing I think we've all done in different ways. We don't realise, you can't realise that until later. I suppose that's part of the learning experience in a way, and in and of it itself. But I think you all made, as students, and continue to make remarkable things, which is why you're sat here and why you're working, and, you know. So it possibly doesn't feel like enough, but it was obviously a great deal. And I do know what you mean, Alistair, about kind of just being a week in front of the students. I've made a 30-year career out of that. Still just about holding the illusion.
You didn't actually know how to read at the start, did you?
No, but I'm getting there. I've moved into big words now, like therefore and whatever. I'm now onward. You become really interesting in terms of I think you've started to open this up a little bit in your discussion about the passion all of you have for the things that you're doing, the things you want to do. How do you manage that balance between creativity and earning a living, or the business or industry, those things that, you know, we all will need. We all need to earn a living, pay the rent and eat, and this passion that you've got for your ideas, the things you want to take forward.
Painfully. It's so painful. Like, genuinely.
One for them, one for us.
Yeah.
No? That's how I kind of see it.
Because, I mean, I know, unless you're Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I don't know, I say that, but there was a time when Phoebe Waller-Bridge was just Phoebe Waller-Bridge, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
And I guess it's just to not give up, really. I guess, you can have a day job that you hate, but then the writing or the comedy or the filmmaking is your, I don't know, your passion. It's like the candle that ignites in you, that gets you going. Do you know what I mean? The other is just more I suppose, dead weight. So it gives you more fuel, I guess, for the fire when it comes to write that book or film that commercial or write that script. And that's what I've learned, because a lot of, I suppose, the work that I'm going into, which is scripted development, requires a lot of reading. Production's very intense. It's long hours. You know, it's just tiring. And I've met a lot of people who have said, I just don't have time to write, who are writers as well. And they're I read every day. I don't want to read for my own spare time or write or whatever. So it's just interesting hearing that, and I think now I'm kind of pivoting in that sense of getting something more secure, given the state of the current climate of the industry and the wider world. Just to have that security blanket, you know, other than burn through savings, and whilst you're still, I suppose, in the industry, if you're working for a TV charity or something, but you still got that little bubble of, you know, a burst of energy that you love doing, and, you know, the world you really enjoy, but you also have more time and, I suppose, juice to fire up your, you know, engine for creating stuff. Yes, a space, but still having that desire to do it burning in you.
Yeah. I mean, I came from making my own things and doing music videos and hustling and hitting up bands and making it like that, and then as soon as that kind of lifted, then you kind of fall into the commercial space, and then the commercial people liked your music videos, so then you put that into your commercials, and then I'm at the space now where it's you know, for the past year I was I'm not really sure I like any of the ads, don't feel like me. But then now I've got to be okay, well, what got me these commercials? It was the things I made for passion. So then I've got to now then make space for doing the things I really want to do, and getting the contacts I've made and try and make a short film or a documentary or something that will get me. It's almost like future proofing for the next projects I'm going to do, because it's so fickle. It's like commercials. It's okay, we're done with this person now. This person's here, well, what's the next? Because there's always someone chasing your tail, so it's you've got to make sure you're still constantly making things that you are passionate about, because if you fall too much in this commercial thing, you're done. Yes. It's like this invisible glass ceiling, and
that's fascinating.
Making it and stuff,
Well, I feel kind of lucky that when I look at the work I've done, because for most of my adult life, I've done work that I was interested in. Now, I think I probably should have done more of the one for you, one for me, and could have maybe had a pension or earned some more money.
I do not have that.
In that case, I'm feeling much better about my CV. What I mean is, I graduated with, people who graduated with me came straight to London and got a job working in Soho and started working their way up the ladder, which is sensible, except that a lot of them burned out and didn't make it past 10 years and don't still work in the industry. But that would, I'm sure, if I were working in post-production, I could be more secure and have a nicer house than I have, which is a flat and not a house. You know what I mean? But I don't really regret it because I wanted to do what I was interested in, and I've mostly done that. And in a weird way, this might sound like a bad Yorkshire John thing, but it isn't. After I graduated, there was a project for making corporate videos. So through the university, I made a number of videos for work. And that was a really good experience, but in a bad sort of way, because after about a year of doing that, I discovered that it was no longer difficult to make the videos, but they weren't getting any better. So, because I could now do the quality I was doing at the start with great ease and without putting any effort into it whatsoever. And that sort of was part of the motivation for going, actually, if you were making adverts that were boring to you and also not very good, you'd say, well, this isn't enough. Yeah. And so my passion is not to do a more interesting corporate video, I'm going to do something else. And so that was, I left and I went to London at that point because I realised I'm not interested enough in this, and I've continued to not do anything that doesn't interest me for more than a few minutes, which is a really bad career strategy that I can't recommend, but it is working.
Oh, it sounds like it sounds like it is. I'm very conscious of time, and I could just sit here and chat all night. But if anyone's got any questions, please kind of think through them now. I'll give you a moment if you've got any questions for any or all of our panellists. I'll call them that, panellists. That'll do. Obviously part of why we're here, other than say hello, it's lovely to be here, is about our alumni network and really celebrating the successes of York St John alumni. So networks are important. It would seem. How important are networks to your networking as a process?
I find it very important. I don't know.
They're your currency.
Yeah, it is. You're so right. Currency is a very good way of describing it.
I guess, my time at the BBC, the girl I've met beforehand, and I'm not saying that your friends can give you a job or whatever, but she did put in a good word, to keep an eye out. And I'm not saying what happened, because I went for the interview and they were, impressed and, I don't know, it's a weird thing. I never used to believe in it, but there's some sort of, universal thing happening.
Yeah, well, The people I met at York St John is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now. The people I met there, because what you're kind of doing is you're finding your people, and I felt like you find my people, they trust you, you trust them, you want to work with like-minded people, and then I kind of transferred that over when I moved to London. I just you gravitate towards the people who are not just speaking your same language in film, but just in general. I'll go to networking events or whatever, and it's not just what film did you watch this week? It's just just general chit chat. It's just you just find the people that are on a similar level to you, and you just want to work with them. And I think and then they're the people who help me out when I'm doing the smaller projects. Then you bring them onto the bigger projects, but they're like you say with the currency thing. They're the ones who will then, I've got this personal project, I've got no money, can you come and help me? They'll be like, yeah, of course I will. It's like that. That's the value in that, and I literally swear by that all the time because I've got, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. And one of the things that's spoken about a lot of transferable skills. It's one of those phrases that universities use a lot, and quite rightly, in a way. It's one thing that's not perhaps identified in the way that it should be, just by virtue of being together with people, making stuff, writing stuff,
collaborating.
It's about learning those skills in an organic way, which is really useful, perhaps.
In fact, no. I think networking is bad and unnecessary. The truth is, I'm not good at it. Perhaps that's why I ended up being a stand-up comedian, which is a job for narcissists who can't get along with anyone else. At backstabbers, a lot of backstabbers as well. But actually, I think there is a sort of lesson from stand-up networking, which is because the career ladders in the creative industries don't exist, but they bend and twist in all sorts of directions. And stand-up comedy, I think, is particularly bad for that. In as much as you can be doing quite well, and then you'll just see somebody come zooming up behind and overtake you, and it breeds a huge amount of resentment, especially among, and this will shock you, middle-class white men. For some reason, that is the demographic that is most upset about somebody else getting something that they didn't get. And people get really messed up about the way these things happen. But I think it's important to remember that somebody who was doing the door at an open mic when I started doing stand-up is now like on telly quite regularly. But I was gigging there, and she was on the door, and it's like, that's a really good reason not to be a dickhead to anybody. Isn't it? I was like, because you just don't, which is not for purely strategic purposes. You shouldn't be a dickhead on principle. Yeah. But you also shouldn't be a dickhead to anybody who's making the tea, because they might be signed as a director next month. And so I do think working on things at York St John, there are several occasions where I can look back and see that I was a dickhead, and I remember it not working out. and so they're painful lessons, but they were still lessons.
Yeah. Say be nice to the people on the way up.
Yes.
Yeah. Very wise words.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes.
On the network thing. So our students now, they do very much struggle with the whole idea around networking, and we're not sure whether it's COVID or what it is. Now, whether this is wrong or right, maybe the word network is wrong. Maybe it's just connecting, getting together. So how do you, when you're working within these different industries, get to meet other people when it's not a organised fun kind of event? Now, I know what you're saying is that you meet people, you chat, you talk, but it's that when you're starting out as a student now, the struggle they have is finding how they connect. So we launched a Ask an Alum thing, which is about asking a question. It's not about connecting, it's not about commitment, it's not about anything, it's just asking a question about somebody in the industry. But what would you advise for a student right now to connect with the correct industry? Or just have a chat with you, Alistair, or how would you advise them to move forward with that? Because that is quite a big struggle at the moment.
Yeah, I guess I get this all the time, and I always get recommended to reach to the person whose job you want. So say I'm looking for an assistant script editor, well, I'd reach out to the assistant script editor. Say it's a student, you'd reach out to a runner, or I don't know, like a trainee, and that makes it less intimidating than going to the director or the first AD and being like, hey, I want your job, how did you do it, kind of thing. So it's easing them in slowly, and I think with me, my confidence has really grown because of all the hospitality work I've done, which is bar work, and I mean on a bar you've got to talk to people, so that's definitely given me a lot of confidence. So I think anyone who's had that experience, and they've said this when I've gone to meetups for runners or people trying to break in, they do mention that people having customer service skills is really good, because when you're on set, when you're in an office, no matter where you are in life, you've got to talk to people and know how to deal with them. And that's what it comes down to, at the root of it, really.
Perfect, thank you.
Well, I think there's a couple of things. You talk about the experience you get from bar work. Doing stand-up a bit, going to an open mic night, if you're moderately funny, or if you want to just practice talking in front of people, it's not a bad thing to do, because you quickly discover that people not laughing is not that bad. We're terrified of it, but actually you survive it, and it's okay. Dying is one of the good things about stand-up, because you learn that it's fine, it doesn't really matter. If you live in a city like London, you can humiliate yourself in front of people every day. You won't see the same people, it doesn't matter. And if you go to open mics, you'll meet absolutely mad people, just some of the strangest people on earth. But also people who are going to quit stand-up and become a novelist, or go back to their job working for The Guardian or something. And then you'll know those people 10 years later. And if you can approach these things in a non-transactional way, like working for video games, I know loads of people who write video games, and I can ask them questions about things, and I sometimes host events for games writers and things like that. And I'm not trying to be a games writer, but I used to keep the different things that interested me separate, because I was sort of embarrassed by, I'm trying to write a game, and I'm trying to do some jokes, and allowing those things to sort of go, oh no, wait, I know somebody who could help you with this because I met this person at this thing. And it's not approaching it with a strategic.
Yeah.
I used to know a guy with like a Rolodex of everybody he met, where he would make notes of who they were and how many children they had, so he could sort of American Psycho his way. Networking. Maybe it works, but I'm not convinced it does.
Yeah. I mean, I was just like the yes guy. I was just like, anyone offer me anything to do anything or go anywhere, do anything, I would just say yes, even if I was on my own, and go to events, didn't know anyone, and just kind of uncomfortably put myself in a situation even though I didn't know anyone, and just kind of talk. And then even if you don't meet anyone, it's fine, but if you might meet someone who you just kind of could stay in touch with. I was just so adamant to be like, I was that annoying runner who was like, saw the producers going to, what pub are you going to? I was that guy. I'm like, oh, okay. And then the other runners, I'd be like, oh, we should go to that pub. And like they were like, oh, we got to shoot this weekend, we can't get out. I'm like, oh, I'll do it. Yeah. What's that? I just like listen. I was pretty annoying, but I was really adamant to just really shoulder barge my way in, because I knew when I moved here, I knew like one person. So I was just like, I just really need to make sure people know my name in a weird way, and just like, not about my work, but like, oh, that guy's hungry. I just wanted to feel, but basically because I was hungry, I was like, I want to make some work, I want to do anything I can to kind of make it. I was just,
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I actually have a random story. So I did come to America when I was 2017, and I actually met a girl from York St John at my camp, and there was a girl from the Isle of Man at my camp.
Who you didn't know?
No, who I knew.
Oh, right.
They were both, one was from like the Isle of Man, and one was from York St John, who was doing film production, ironically. And it's just, again, how small the world is. But it was actually at pre-camp, I met a guy who 5 years later, I found out his mum's best friend was an exec on Killing Eve, and weirdly I emailed her to send a script to him before I got into the industry, and I mean, he got it and he read it, and by that time I was already in London. And it's funny, we talk about networking, because I mentioned his name, Lee Mars, who works at Sid Gentle, and like they all were like, oh, we know Lee, we're from like BBC, because back in those days they all worked at BBC, and then I suppose scattered. And it's so funny because I did meet him finally when I interviewed at Sid. I didn't get the job, but they were like really, impressed, I guess. And he brought up my writing, and it's so funny, people do remember you.
Yeah.
Like, I went for an interview last week, and there was a girl a producer I'd met, who I'd never really met at Moonage on a project, and she recognised me before I'd met her, and it's so weird, little things like that. It does happen. You might not think, but
it's about putting yourself out there and being bold, and being like, not afraid for getting the ignored email, getting the ignored message, people not responding. It's just being like, well, I'm throwing my energy out there. If someone grabs it, that's great. If you don't do it in the first place, then no one's going to do it. You've just got to literally just like throw yourself out there.
We read meaning into being ignored. You send a couple of emails and they don't go back. And I used to say, oh, well, they've made their point. When the reality is, they never think about you at all. Yeah. They don't have an opinion of you yet.
Yes.
So you've got to keep going so they at least develop one. Yeah. You don't have to.
Your name might then creep into their ear through someone else, and you know what, I did get an email off this person. Like, because I'm still doing what I'm doing now from when I was first moved here. Like, someone, say someone's like, oh, someone works at so and so, and I'm like, oh, I really want to work with them, and they'd be like, well, just find the DM, find the Instagram, find the LinkedIn, and then make that piece of work and go, and then just fire it along. I still do the same method I was doing when I first moved here, but it's just in a different way.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. People remember you because of the things we've spoken about. Again, it's that kind of, it's the passion for what it is you want to do, the way you're engaging with people, kind of like repeatedly contacting people because you're enthused about it. It seems to be the key for it all.
Have you got a standout memory from York St John?
England. No.
That was one of my questions. That's excellent. Well done.
What's the city of York? This.
I've got a few actually. Well, I remember. I don't know if you remember, Rob, but like on our graduate film, we shot outside your house at night.
You did. Yes,
Yeah.
I do remember
And
that.
I remember thinking, it's very nice of one of our lecturers letting us shoot outside his house in the middle of the night. And I remember the film we made, it was like 2010 or 11 when we made it, and it was about someone who is a stand-up comedian, who wasn't funny, wanted to make people laugh, and everyone who, he made like a deal with the devil, and who was the compare, and then they would laugh hysterically at everything. And
Sorry,
I feel like
I'm
he got it.
preempting your story here because someone did that.
well, it was Black Mirror actually did an episode later on, but
Yeah, it was pre.
yeah,
No, I
years
mean,
ago.
no,
Well, basically, his
checking the dates.
the stand-up comedian's daughter was deaf and couldn't hear him, so she never laughed. But then she started hyperventilating and laughing. So I just remember being outside your house at like 10, 11 o'clock at night, and having this person going, like laughing hysterically, and this guy walking with his daughter down, going, help, help, and I'm just like, we're all filming this thing, going like, fair play. The lecturer letting us do this outside his house and his neighbours and stuff. We've got all these lights outside. I was like, wow, committed. I loved it, yeah.
I guess mine is, I did a lot of sports clubs, so YSJ's ski trip 2017 to 2018, 2016 to 2018, yeah, I guess those are, I mean, I ended up running the club in like third year, but they were the best highlights. I mean, if you ever have kids or have friends tell them to go on like the uni ski trip or like, I don't know, I guess like any trip, like tour, because you really feel like a part of the community and you make memories for life, and it's just such a laugh really, especially as a fresher. You need to, dive into
all the
deep.
ski trips. Very fun.
I mean, 24 hours on a coach is just gold dust, so.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the coach trips. Yeah. Long, mate. Yeah.
I have never skied and have no intention of skiing at any point in the future. It sounds terrible to me.
But yeah, just to close, what are the projects you're working on? You're hoping to work on, whether they're jobs, whether they're ideas, kind of passion projects. What is the thing you really want to do next?
You guys take the big question.
Oh my god, I guess I'll start. Well, I'm still working on Bellflower, which is now, like, I started it in 2018, so it's now like, it's 8 years old. I think it's 8 years old, and it's still being developed. So I just started selling that out to literary agents, and I just started writing a YA fantasy novel, which actually started in writing to order, which Rob read, and then I wrote it as a script, and it kind of developed from there, the concept, and then I decided to rewrite it as a book because it's too expensive to make, and the climate has no money. So, but yeah, I've got a few other projects on my slate because I've got my own slate of stuff. So just kind of refining spec scripts and then getting them sent out. Really.
Send them to me. I want to make something, and I want us all to work. I'm just like we can always make something together.
Finding his life away.
I tell you what's really hard. It's hard to find good scriptwriters. I meet so many people who are like directors and editors and producers, but I actually rarely meet scriptwriters. I think it's
the dweebs who don't leave the house.
I think it's the one that's like actually like the talent. I think it starts from the writing, and I feel like that's why there's not as many people. Like I could get a script and go, yeah, I'll make this, yeah, I'll get other people and make some stuff, but I think the writing's like the first thing, and I think it's the hardest thing. So that's why I'm like, maybe we could all come together and just make. That's on my future projects. Hitting you guys up and making something together.
I mean, there's a lot of shit TV and film out there. So if they can make that, then we can too, I guess.
Yeah, I agree that writers are heroes and the best. And so I'm writing running my fifth kids book now. It's, as I was saying to Rob, significantly behind schedule. It was supposed to be finished at the end of this month, and it is nowhere near finished. And I'd like to. I'm hoping to pitch, similar to you, an idea that I have slung at production companies as live action and animation with no success, and I'm perhaps in a similar way going, if that was a book, people might say yes to it because it would be cheaper to print than it would be to film.
Yeah.
So having a very similar thought there. And then writing a new stand-up, I twitched there when I said new stand-up show, because a lot of the jokes in it are quite old at the moment. I'm writing a new stand-up show which I'll take to the Edinburgh Fringe this year and then hopefully go on tour after that.
Yeah.
That's fabulous.
Yeah. I'm doing a project with these guys.
I want to be involved too.
What I do find and continues to come across at Yorkshire from every alumni I speak to is this underlying passion, the love of what they do. York St John did help them, but if it wasn't for the skills that they had to begin with, York St John could never have helped them go to the next level. They may have not got the confidence, and I think as much as York St John is amazing, we do love York St John, it's the skill set that you bring. And that's why I think the lecturers love it, because then they can nurture that and then help you develop and grow into the people that you want to be. And sometimes it is hard, it's really difficult to break into those careers and reach out to other people. But I think what we'll learn tonight is actually by, whether we like the word or not, networking or talking to each other, there are actually real opportunities for everybody. Whether you're a student now, whether you're an alumni that left 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And I think hopefully by having these kind of things and talking to each other, and obviously Aussie now developing something to do that, we'll be able to showcase stuff in the future as well. But it's just so wonderful as like an alumni office to see how all of our students develop post their studies. But what is really lovely to hear is how their skill sets that they've gained from the university, whether they've helped them directly in their careers right now, or they've used them as a transferable skill, like Rob spoke about, whether they're moving into writing or stand-up comedy or going into podcasting, or they've learned lots of different skills that have basically come to fruition now. So it's just so lovely to hear that, and I think our students will really appreciate this time that you've taken to give back to them, so thank you so much.